Oh, I like that.
Let me start with something we've been repeatedly seeing in the kingdom with women executives across continents. These are women who are competent, respected, and deeply committed to doing things with integrity. And yet, by the end of 2025, many of them told us the same thing. I'm doing well, but I'm tired. Not tired because they're failing, tired because everything still depends on them. The vision is clear, the calling is clear, but the systems underneath haven't caught up. This series exists because clarity, not effort, is what most Kingdom women executives need as they step into 2026. Welcome and good afternoon. Today is day one of the end of the year business strategy series for the Kingdom Women Executives. Today we are focused on operations and strategic clarity. I'm Trevina Jefferson, founder of Trepson Management and Benefits Consulting and Chief Operations Officer of Crown Christian Women Executive. I've also brought with me our Chief of Innovations for Christian Women Executives, which is Yolanda Crenshaw. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
And we'll be speaking with her more in depth tomorrow. I'm honored you chose to spend your lunch hour with us. Today's session is a joint event between Trepson Management and Crowned Christian Women Executives, and that partnership is intentional. Trepson Management and Benefits helps leaders build clear, sustainable, operational, people, and execution systems so growth doesn't create overwhelm. Crowned Christian Women Executive is a global executive sisterhood for Christian women leaders, women called to lead companies, teams, ministries, departments, and high impact initiatives with faith, integrity, and stewardship. This series was not created for every executive. It was created specifically for Kingdom women executives. Before stepping into a new year, Kingdom women executives don't need more tasks. They need clarity. You're often leading complex organizations, high capacity teams, and meaningful missions while carrying responsibility not just for results, but for people, culture, integrity, and alignment with God's direction. Across the continents, we consistently see capable, faith-driven women who are productive but stretched, successful but tired, faithful but carrying too much alone. This three-day series exists to change that. It is about stewardship, clarity, and peace and leadership. This is day one, and today's focus is operation and strategic clarity. Operations is where vision either becomes sustainable or silently overwhelming. Before we move further, I want to briefly acknowledge the executive leaders you'll be hearing from today. Joining us later on today this hour, will be Dr. Vicki Wright Hamilton, a global business strategy consultant with more than 40 years of executive leadership experience, including former vice president roles at Turner Broadcasting and the Weather Channel. You'll also be hearing from Angie Connor, CEO of Kingdom Growth Advisors, a former senior leader at T-Mobile and a fractional sales strategist helping organizations build revenue systems that align with their value. Both are Crowned Christian Women Executive members, and both bring deep operational insight rooted in real executive responsibility. As a gift for being with us live today, every attendee will receive access to a complimentary organizational audit. You'll get that gift and gift code at the end. We're going to move into our next frame. For this season, I want to ground us in one core question, because it quietly determines whether organizations grow or stay fragile. What happens when you step away? Operations is not busyness. Operations is not personality. Operations is how work continues without relying on your memory, your presence, or your constant decision-making. This might even seem familiar. If leadership disappears for 48 hours and everything slows down or stops, that's not leadership strength. It's operational dependency. If I step away, everything slows down or stops. That's what some executive leaders say and know intimately. That fear is why rest feels risky. It's why growth feels heavy instead of exciting. This does not happen because your team is incapable, and it does not happen because you were too gifted. It happens because systems were built around you instead of the work. Usually it shows up in 3 ways. 1, decisions live in your head. 2, processes are verbal or assumed. Or 3, ownership exists, but without documentation. When operations are built correctly, leadership becomes portable. Work moves. Decisions flow. Excellence doesn't pause when you're unavailable. And that's when leaders can hear God clearly, because the system is no longer screaming for attention. Today is not about fixing everything. It's about identifying where dependency exists so structure can be rebuilt intentionally. Operations is the foundation that makes vision sustainable, teams trustworthy, and rest possible. Now let's turn to our first guest. Bring it to this page. There she is. Our first guest today is Dr. Vicki Wright Hamilton. Dr. Vicki is a globally recognized business strategy consultant with over 40 years of executive leadership experience across corporate, nonprofit, and media organizations. She has held senior executive and vice president roles at Turner Broadcasting and Weather Channel and the Weather Channel. And today advises leaders navigating transformation, growth, and organizational complexity at scale. Her work focuses on helping executives build clarity-driven systems that support both performance and sustainability inside the organization and in the leader's own life. Dr. Vicky, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Vicky, you've worked with leaders and organizations across multiple industries and at significant scale. As leaders prepare for 2026, what patterns are you seeing in operations that signal where clarity is breaking down?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I think we're in a time of a lot of change. I think a lot of us are hearing about the technological changes that are impacting our operations. We all know about AI, right? But I don't think we understand AI. And I think a lot of leaders are struggling with not only the business strategy that they're utilizing, but how do they incorporate the people's strength along with leveraging AI, even when you talk about operations. We all want the microwave society. We want everything done in 10 seconds. Businesses want it not only completed in 10 seconds, but they want profit and money in 5. So what does that mean? That's where the stress comes in from the individuals. And one of the things I believe, as I am hearing even more and more, and has only been validated, is that we have not invested enough time into the culture, the process, and the readiness. So one of the things I have created is a readiness assessment for are you really ready for AI and technology and operations before you even pick up and say, this is what we're going to do. Because at the end of the day, people do the work because they do the intellect, the strategy that AI is not doing in terms of that relationship person to person, right? I can only program AI to be what I want it to say. If I program it incorrectly, I'm going to get incorrect results.
Right.
So you must have the proper strategy and human elements in order to enable the capability so that the organization can survive at whole.
Absolutely. Even thinking about how people are trying to create materials to get past government regulations. I'm seeing a lot more governments are saying don't use AI. Why? Because you've allowed it to create everything, right? And it might not even be correct to your business. What have you seen that as well? Or what have you seen?
Yes, I have. And I think what happens is that now I'm a technologist. I love AI, but I think we got to use it appropriately. And I think what's happened is that we're not doing that. So when they're telling us don't use AI, they don't want to get the same proposal that looks the same way because everybody's put the same thing through AI and they've gotten an output, which means I can't think.
Right.
I'm relying on something to tell me and I can't think outside of the box. Where the magic happens is, yes, use AI to do your research. Use AI to get those things that you need to have data-wise and analytics-wise quickly. But then you take that information and you use your wisdom, your knowledge, your strategy, understanding what's going on and apply it to what you have received. Therefore, you're now giving uniqueness. You're now curating something that says, I'm doing what I know from my experiences. I think there's a foundation that every leader needs to understand. In my book, there is no competition. You know why? Because nobody's walked your journey but you. It's your journey and what you have done that gives you the competitive advantage and the uniqueness, just like your social security number. So if we begin from the fact that I'm going through my experiences, which is ultimately my story, which is going to allow me to apply those experiences, those stories when I'm creating proposals, when I'm telling what I can do that's different, allows me to have that personal competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And the winner, the person who gets it, is the one where that experience of that story matches the culture, the outcomes, the environments that that business is looking for. And when you don't get it, guess what? It's a favor, because it's not a match between your wisdom, your knowledge, your strategy, and what the organization is looking for. So I think when they're saying, don't use just AI, I don't want cookie cutter, and you see it everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And the thing that's so sad is there's tools out there to say, you sound like AI. All you got to do is check it before you send it, right? But again, that's about knowledge. You have to know that the tools are there to do that. You have to understand what it looks like. So it's not don't use it, it's use it appropriately. And I think that's what goes across operations as well.
That makes a lot of sense. When you step into an organization that feels overwhelmed, but is technically performing well, what are the first operational signals that tell you the systems, not the people, are the real problem?
Well, let me tell you something. As somebody who's been through the CIOs, SVPs, and all of that, let me tell you where the real knowledge comes from. And these are the people that can be ignored the most. The people that are doing the work, they're going to tell you where every skeleton is, where everything is buried. They're going to tell you everything that's going on. So it's not that the effort isn't there. People work hard to get the results. So the company can have the results on a piece of paper. But it doesn't take long before the people go, okay, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. You talk about people getting out, being burned out, and they don't want to do it anymore. They're tired of using their wisdom, their knowledge to help another organization move forward when what they think needs to be done or invested in is not looked at. So when you begin to look at the guts of the organization, of the operations and how it's working, and you start to talk to the individuals, you begin to say, whoa, this isn't about capability. This is about you don't have the right systems, process, and things in place in order to allow the capability to be used. And therefore, we're spending more time, we're spending more effort, and we want to blame the individuals when you have not invested where you needed to invest. I'll give you an example. I was working with a client and a very high level company, right? And they were in the manufacturing space. And they had lots of plants. Now, the plants is where the work gets done, where the products are made so they can make their money, right? Yeah. The last time they invested in these plants was 30 years ago. I'm going to say that again. 30 years ago. These people are working off of antiquated systems, antiquated processes, and they're requiring the individuals to go get more learning, more certification, more education. What am I supposed to do with that if I'm working on a 30-year-old system? So You're not allowing me to grow with what needs to be done, but you're telling me to have the knowledge and make it happen and then go work the miracles so that you can go get your money. So when you begin to really pull back the onion and really understand, you begin to see those gaps.
Wow. That's amazing. I really understand. And I think that's something that's needed, because it's so easy for these big corporations to have started well, they've gotten large, but then they're starting to wonder why they're breaking down, why are they losing market share? Because they're still trapped in where they started.
That's right. That's right. And that's why our strategies and our thought process and our ability to want to grow and develop. You should be a lifetime learner as a leader. I don't care where you are in the leader spectrum, a lifetime learner, because knowledge, data, systems, industries, markets, everything changes on a constant basis. I mean, look at our economy today. Could anybody have predicted we would have had all the different nuances, all the different regulations, all the different things that are being put in place today in less than a year of where things have happened and changed that would have the impact that it has today? So we have to be ready. We have to be knowledgeable. And the only way we're going to do that is continue to be a lifelong learner. That's what we're doing.
Absolutely. Now, you and I have spoken about helping leaders organize themselves, both inside and outside of work. From an operational standpoint, how does a leader's personal organization directly impact execution, decision making, and team reliance?
So I want to break that up into a few components because, first of all, each and every one of us are human beings first. Life happens, life gets to life, right? And you're asked to come into an organization in order to work, but you're supposed to leave and park your problems at the door. So what do? We compartmentalize. But compartmentalizing doesn't mean it goes away. So it doesn't mean the stress, doesn't mean the pressure, doesn't mean the thoughts aren't within you as you're moving forward. So let's just take that one concept. If I'm going into work today and I'm worried about X, Y, and Z at home, that's really got me consumed. I said, okay, I'm going into work. I can't think about that, but I'm not my total self. So how am I going to give leadership and capability as a total self to anybody else? That's why it is so important that every individual has a ritual every single day. I don't care whatever that is for you, that allows you to be able to gain the strength, to gain the positivity, to gain the knowledge of being able to move forward so that you can give your best self when you go to work. Now, what does that impact? The operational side of the things that have to get done. How can you think outside of the box to do those things? What are the things that are going to actually occur if people are watching you, needing you, leaning on you because they're following you? The best servant leaders are the ones that can say, that can be transparent. Today, I'm having a hard day. And I am thinking about other things. I'm doing the best I can. I need you. I need your partnership. I need you to step in and give me what you think. I don't come with all the answers, and I'm not supposed to.
Right.
I'm supposed to be able to lean on, to grab, to hold, to respect your journey, your knowledge, your wisdom to bring to the table. So we have so much of a problem that we always want to tell the glory of everything, but nobody wants to talk about the story.
Right.
And we all know as Christians here, we got stories. And we know our knees get bruised because we got lots of stories. Lord help me. Here's my story today, right? So it's really about understanding that groundedness because things can go astray, right? And every company has its own culture. The cultural challenges that come with that and being yourself. So the very first thing I tell leaders when I'm working with them, forget about work right now. I need you to think about you. Where are you? How do you feel emotionally? How do you feel spiritually? How do you feel physically? How do you feel from a capability perspective of things you want to grow at that you may not have had an opportunity, right? What are those things that are there? But the foundation of everything is mindset. If your mind is not right, if your thoughts are not embedded in your firm beliefs and your ability to move forward, you can't bring other people along forward either. Because your mindset, that negativity, that challenge, everybody feeds off of. That virus nobody wants.
Well, real briefly, I have another question for you before we lead into Q&A.
Okay.
For faith-driven executives, how do you help leaders distinguish between what God is calling them to carry personally versus what should be transferred into systems, structure, or shared ownership?
Wow. Now that's more than a 2-minute answer, but and it's more than a 2-minute answer because I think there's so many different elements that go into that question.
Absolutely.
First of all, we know that our faith-based women are coming from a standpoint of leaning and depending on God, right? And we know we don't do any of this alone. We look to him. We have to get guidance from him, and we have to listen, be still, and understand. And here's the basic premise of the foundation of that. As you are moving forward with anything, operations, business, leadership, with anything, you must first take your foundation of your belief as your first down step, as your step. Now, we have to have those core beliefs that I'm not stepping outside of this box, right? And we all know that this corporate America where you can't pray, you can't say God, you can't say, we all know that, right? But we have to say, when I get ready to go and work for somebody else, I am not stepping outside of this paradigm. This is my limit. And for so long, we have not done that. We've given our power away.
Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not even going to speak.
Right? We're giving our power away. But that fits all in this, right? We give our power away because we think we have no other options.
Right.
We think that, oh my God, what am I going to do? But if I'm listening and I'm believing and I'm following what God has told me to do, there is no wrong. And I'm going to share a short personal story with you just to bring this home as you asked that question. I was working I was a senior level executive, and I won't say which company. And I was sitting around a boardroom table and worked for a guy that they thought held all the keys to the kingdom, but he really didn't. His direct reports really did that. But anyway, he decided that he was going to, because he didn't like the premise and didn't like the environment, he was going to take it within his own hands. So he did some position eliminations in the process and then tried to pack lies on top of it. Well, one of those people that was impacted was me, right? Now, the difference is I had already positioned myself to have a position elimination because I knew that was what was going to be best for the organization, but he wanted to try to make sure that I knew that he was going to take control and all of that. And this is where my faith came in. I walked in his office and I said to him, you do what you think you need to do because you can't hurt me. I work for a higher being that writes my check, opens my doors, and tells me where to show up. Not you, not this company, not anybody. I don't expect you to understand that. But you do what you think you need to do because I am going to be all right. And he looked at me with this stare and he said, well, you still ain't going to have a job. I said, that's okay. It's all right. Now, my contract wasn't finished. He was still going to have to pay that out. But it was like, it's all right. You don't have control over me. My Father does. You have to decide when you are going to stand up for what you believe in and that faith base to move forward. That impacts everything as you're doing that. So first, get your parameters together when you're making that decision as to what I'm going to follow versus what I'm not. Once you have done that, when it comes to any business, comes to any operations, when it comes to anything, we always pray for guidance. We always pray for him to lead us, and we make the best decision we can with the information that we have available and pray that he will guide us if there's something else that we need to do differently. Because we all gonna grow. We all are gonna make mistakes. None of us are perfect. But through that, we will learn, we will excel, we will get other tools in our toolbox to be ready for the next construction site we go on and be prepared for.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Those were a lot of gems for us to think about. I wish we had a lot more time. We could just fill up a whole hour.
Well, thank you for having
me. All right. And we will be bringing on our next speaker here. Our next guest is Angie Connor. Angie is the CEO of Kingdom Growth Advisors and a fractional sales strategist who helps organizations grow revenue without pressure, manipulation, or misalignment. She is a former senior leader at T-Mobile, where she led high-performing teams and revenue-driven initiatives. And today works with executives who want sales systems that are ethical, repeatable, and sustainable. Angie specializes in aligning sales strategy with operations, so growth doesn't depend on personality or constant leader involvement, something we were just talking about. Let's see. We'll bring her to the stage. There she is. There we are.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Angie, you did prepare a visual that really speaks
Yes.
to this idea of clarity and pressure. Let me get that for us. And move it.
Yeah, we see it.
So you prepared a framework on selling without being salesy. From an operations perspective, what has to be in place behind the scenes for that approach to actually work consistently?
Well, I think, and thank you for the question. Thank you for the time to spend with everyone here this afternoon. I'm very honored to be here. I put a few thoughts together from the lens of those who may be considering stepping out of the corporate environment into a more entrepreneurial role. And I think one of the first things that people become challenged with is how to invite clients to partner with you in a way that feels peaceful and honest and ethical, and aligned with your walk with God without hyping yourself up or pretending to be someone that you're not. So, as we consider this problem, one of the things that I have found is that most Christian women I work with, they're not lazy or unskilled, they're called, but they feel a constant tension when it comes to selling. And what that can sound like in your inner monologue is, you want to honor God, but you don't want to chase money, for example. You want to work with clients, but you don't want to push people. You want to stay in alignment with the kingdom. So what happens, I find many times, is that women will underprice and undervalue themselves, and they'll hint instead of inviting clients to partner with them. They give things away for free. Then they feel frustrated or even ashamed when the business is not growing as it should. And it's this constant push and pull between being kingdom minded and building a business, and how do you find that balance? So it's not that you're bad at marketing. It's really an unresolved question, I think, which is it holy, HOLY, is it holy for me to sell this? Mm-hmm. Am I stepping into my kingdom role? Am I living out my mission in my mission field? So I want to show you how you can answer that with a clear conscience. And I'd like to get us all to think about Matthew 25, so the parable of the talents. So we must be good stewards of what the Lord gives us so that we make gains for the kingdom. And, the good steward took the 5 talents and turned it into 10. And that's what we should be doing, is a good steward of our talents. So if you want to switch to the next slide, Trevina, thank you. So there are a few concepts that I really wanted to focus on today, and primarily these 4 steps of connect, listen, discern, and invite. So selling is not forcing, it's stewarding. It's how can I help you if it serves you? And that's a key distinction there. You want to help people, you want to serve people. So one of the things I think as we're considering connection is let's slow down. To Dr. Vicky's point, let's slow down, let's be human, and let's ask our clients, and this is even translatable in corporate America as well, right? So I don't want to exclude anybody. But you want to understand the person that's on the other side of the table, where are they? What's really going on? And again, this mirrors some of what we were just discussing. You want to have that human connection so that the people that you're having dialogue with don't sense a hidden agenda, right? Completely authentic, complete authenticity. You want to listen. You want to ask heart questions in addition to practical questions. You want to know for them, what's hard right now. Again, and this is layering on top of what Dr. Vicky said, but you want to know what's hard for them. What if they tried? What would change if this got better?
Right.
And then I think the discernment is where the holy part comes in. And I have to remind myself daily, I have to stay in the word daily to keep my discernment sharp and crisp. But this is where you want to ask yourself, can I truly help this person? Am I the right fit to help them? Because when you can help them and you are the right fit and there is a true need, then that's your mission field. That's your mission field. And you can step into that and you can bring the kingdom to these business meetings. Even as I said, in corporate America, I felt like that was my mission field when I was part of that economy. And I would bring the kingdom into my meetings with individuals. And I felt like this is my mission field and this is where I'm going. And if there's fallout, there's fallout. But this is what I've been called to do. So the next thing you want to consider is inviting. So if you can help, it's not a hard sell. It's not a hard close. You want to ask people based on what I've shared. I believe I can help you with X by doing Y. Here's what that would look like. Would you like to talk about working together? Right? It's that simple. You are stepping into your mission field to be a partner with these individuals in their business. Or in corporate America, you're stepping into your mission field to be a partner with these individuals in a highly matrix organization. You're working with different individuals across multiple teams. And you don't have to beg. You don't have to twist arms. It's just a clear, loving invitation. And if you want to go to the next slide, I would like to invite everyone to consider the premise of doing a 7-day stewardship experiment. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was like, let's hear about that. How's that work? Go ahead.
Well, I think, we can talk about these things from an educational perspective or, from a point of thought or academics. But until you are really living this and stepping into your mission field, then it's not real. And you want to step into this, you want to make it real. So let's take a day or so and let's clarify who we help and with what. And once we feel like we've got a really good handle on that, maybe you've got a couple of clients. I will tell you in my business right now, I have a client that I'm working with that sees value. He is a fellow Christian and he needs my help, but right now I'm stepping into this business partnership with some complimentary consulting for him, 10 hours of complimentary consulting. And that is basically to help him build some runway to get some sales under his belt so that we can start a partnership that becomes a paying partnership for me that then allows me to continue my mission. So that's someone that I'm going to help. Have one real conversation with them. Now, this conversation can happen whether it's a Zoom meeting, a voice note, sliding into their DMs, but start a conversation with them. Understand, is it a fit? What do they need? Like I said, what's happening in their world? Be authentic with them. Then
Right.
as you move through that phase, make a clear invitation to them to partner together. Ask yourself at the end of the day, where did I feel the peace of God? Or where did I feel pressure for performance? Because where you feel the peace of God, that's where you're being directed in your mission. And it's, in my opinion, where you feel that pressure, that's the enemy trying to creep in and distract you. Because we have high level appointments that God has designed for us to set out with individuals that we encounter, whether it's in corporate America or in entrepreneurship. And the enemy spends all of his time trying to distract us from those high level meetings. So don't allow yourself to be distracted. Make sure that you're issuing those invitations and make sure that you're focused on being where the Holy Spirit is coaching you to be. And I think journaling is very helpful. And it helps you to understand where your mission is heading and to really capture what it is, that discernment that God is placing on your heart, and staying in the Word daily is very important. So those are just a few things that God laid on my heart to share with you ladies today. And certainly I welcome any questions that you have at this point.
Well, great. I just wanted to say, because I didn't say this when Dr. Vicky was on, the QR code in the corner does have Dr. Vicky's website on it. And in about 1 minute, I'll be switching it over to Angie Connors, which has the Kingdom on it as well for the Kingdom Advisor. So if you need to see Dr. Vicky's website, please just take your phone, scan that Q card in the corner. Let me get to the question. You already pretty much answered question 2. So let's see. On my next question is, as organizations grow, misaligned clients can create as much strain as misaligned systems. How do you design sales processes that protect values, filter for the right clients, and reduce downstream operational stress?
Wow, that's a great question. I think what comes to mind with that is you really need to first invest the time to understand your clients. And that comes from doing your homework, in addition to asking lots of questions. So a good foundation is the homework that you do. And then when you have your initial meetings and your interactions, you really want to dig into these questions that you discovered as you were doing that homework, and you want to get their feedback. And then you take that feedback and you're constantly providing information back to them, and you're checking in. I think it's hugely important that you check in and make sure that when you think you're aligned, you actually are aligned, right? Because oftentimes we can make some assumptions and we can very quickly get off path. And again, a lot of times the enemy will slip in there and try to take us off path so that we move away from the destination that God has placed there for us. So once you're having those dialogues with them and you're doing that checking in, then that allows you to develop a clear picture and understand where they need to go and how, you can help them get there. Excuse me.
Go ahead, take a sip. For faith-driven, I'm sorry?
How you can help them get there.
How I can help them get there, absolutely. For faith-driven leaders, how do you balance trusting God for provision with the responsibility to build discipled, repeatable, disciplined, almost entangled there, disciplined, repeatable sales systems that don't rely on pressure or hustle?
I think that if we are guiding our clients to understand their customers, right? Our job is to understand our client and help them understand their clients. And we're having authentic dialogue, both with our customers and coaching them to have authentic dialogue with their customers. Then those develop conversations that are more, that can be, they can even lead into faith-based conversations at times, right? Because this is our mission field. I think that as women of faith, we have to accept that early on and accept that responsibility that this is our mission field and that we need to put on our armor of God and we need to step forward into the marketplace, sharing Jesus with those we encounter. So just encouraging your clients to have authentic conversations with their customers, that makes a huge difference and it's unique. The customers are going to take notice. They're going to feel more comfortable and they're going to be more open to hearing the knowledge that these companies want to share with their clients, right? That they will be more receptive.
Absolutely. And a quick question off of that. In your experience, I mean, oftentimes we can build relationships in some small businesses, but in your experience with the bigger companies, I mean, T-Mobile, Verizon, those are very heavily into sales. Have you seen ways and processes to still have kind of that relationship building, even with something that large?
Yes, I think a fundamental truth is that people buy from people they like. That's a fundamental truth. And so being your authentic self, right? And that is our authentic selves. We are women of the kingdom. Being your authentic self and carrying that into these relationships, whether they are internal relationships in corporate America, whether they are external relationship with clients or business partners or affiliations that we have, you want to show up as the same person in all of those places, in all of those spaces, because that in itself is a testimony, I think, because people are watching us to see, are we truly who we profess to be? And the only way to walk that walk is to lead with humility and the light of Christ everywhere that you go.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that. I have your website is on the QR code. I'm going to share it real quick, and then I will go back to share Dr. Vicky's. Going to this slide here.
Thank you.
Share screen. All right. This is Angie Connor's site. So if you are looking, it should come to this site. I'm going to take it off of here. The barcode will show you that site. Dr. Vicky's site, Dr. Vicky right? Hamilton. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to first come over to the media assets. You will see her barcode is now on the screen. You can scan that with your phone. When you get there, you should be seeing this site that looks like this. And you know you've reached Dr. Vicky. Okay, so that code is up there. Let me put down here. So I want to thank both of our speakers today. We're blessed to have executives that really understand both business and operations and how sales goes into that, how AI goes into that. And these are things people are thinking about every single day. And as promised, I think we're standing with a simple truth. Most overwhelm isn't coming from the size of your calling. It's coming from the fact that your systems are still carrying yesterday's version of you. If you've been feeling like you're holding everything together, that is not a character issue. It's an operations signal. You don't need a new year to change your load. You need a clear structure. That's why we're giving you the organizational audit, and you're also able to get in contact with our guest today. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set a code for it on here that you can get to. Bop. On the bottom of your screen, you will see the code for it as well. When you click that, it will take you to a 5-minute survey of things that are going on in your operations, human resource, and project management. The code for it is called Executive Clarity ! And moving into the next thing we're going to give you, you'll see where, when you look at this audit, you'll see where decision-making has been too centralized, where execution is breaking down, and where the team relies on you instead of the system, and where you're carrying your weight. You were never meant to carry that alone, because most leaders don't need more motivation. They need clarity. You can scan the code that you have there. Remember, the code is Executive Clarity for the audit. And while we're live, when you do that audit, you should also be able to go into a Zoom room. So you'll have that access. Take a look at that now, and we will be coming to the end of this one. That this conversation is not about selling, it's about stewardship. Kingdom leadership is not about carrying everything yourself. It's about leading with wisdom, structure, and alignment. Thank you for joining us for day 1 for Operation Strategic Clarity. Your calling does not require your constant exhaustion. It requires clarity and systems that match your season. We will see you tomorrow for our piece on human resources and the wonderful executives we have for that.